Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, continuing on with our tutorials, this one being for PCG specifically. So, we are going to be starting this journey in a very unique way. Generally speaking, most people go from big to little. We're going to go from little to big. So, we're going to worry about making the tools that spawn on their own, that spawn everything within them on their own, and then we'll slowly get bigger and bigger, if that makes any sense. With one exception, the smallest one. So having a tree spawn and then a bunch of different things depending on what kind of tree. We'll do that on a future episode. We are instead going to create a very versatile tool that could be used for both regular inanimate objects and AI. So I figured it'd be a good place to start. Before we do, you're going to want to make sure that you go into the project settings, not project settings, I apologize, plugins, type PCG, and I went ahead and just opened them all up because I'm most likely going to be using all of them. Once you're ready, come on back and start it back up. It is in 5.4. There were features that were introduced in 5.4 that I've been waiting since 5, and that's why I hadn't started this series up until now. So I do apologize for those who are wanting to do this in 5.3 or older. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to want to do is create a graph. Uh, Make sure that to keep things structurally sound, set up your your folder structure how you want. Me, I have PCG, then I have a data assets folder, a graph folder, and a structure folder. So I'm going to open up my graph folder, right click, come in here to PCG and select PCG graph. I'm going to name this one PT for PCG tutorial. You do whatever you want. And then enclosed spline spawner underscore PCG. Gonna open it up. And then before we hop into that, we are going to go back into the PCG folder outside of the graph. We're going to create ourselves a blueprint. It's going to be an actor. So I will name this PT underscore enclosed spline spawner underscore BP for blueprint. Now I'm going to, before I hit enter, I'm going to save this right here. You'll see, so in a minute, you can do whatever you want when we get there, but I would like to keep the tag the same as the name. So let's go ahead and open up the blueprint. First thing we're going to want to get is a spline. Regular old spline, go ahead and add that in there. For those that are unaware of what splines are and what they do, not going to go too deep into that. But for PCG, they allow us to control where and how things are spawned. So the first time you click on a spline, you're going to be able to move it around. So we're going to go ahead and do just that. We're going to move it. And then you're going to want to click on the next point so that you can then move that point around. Now to create more points, hold down the Alt key button and then click and drag with your mouse. Awesome. And then just give yourself a few points just to make this usable here. And then you're going to want to come, while still selecting the spline, go to closed loop and select that, and it'll close it up for you. Now make sure you've selected the top of the components folder, and then hit add PCG. We're just going to keep it named as PCG. Then we are going to go back to our graph in the content browser so that we can place it in the graph slot here. Compile and save. Now select that top row item one more time in the components. Come to the details panel and type in tag. For tags, we are going to hit the plus sign, name it whatever you want. As I said, I will be naming mine this. Hit compile and save. For now, we do not need this again for a little bit anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and close it. Now here in the spline is where a lot of things, not the spline, in the graph is where a lot of things are going to happen. But in order to see it, we need to place our blueprint in the world. So here we go. I've placed mine in the world. Now you can see right here, it sees that it's in the world down here in the debug objects. And the only way we can see that is with that tag. I'm not sure why the tags need to be there, but they need to be there. So make sure you have it tagged. So first node of the evening. Sorry, going through my. Here we go. Is we are going to need to get a spline data. Get spline data. For this one, we're going to stick to self, but we could easily say we're in a bigger graph. They could look for a spline that from all world actors looking for that tag to spawn stuff around the spline if we wanted to, just as an example of what you could do. So the next thing we're going to pull out is the spline sampler. Spline sampler is what spawns our points for us. You're not going to see much of anything right now. And that's because we need to decide how we are going to be setting up our spline. So for this one, we are going to be going in the on interior. So it's going to spawn stuff on the interior. And now, as you can see, we now have points that are showing up right here. So that is great to know. Now, we can't really see much, and that's to be expected, but you can see right here, 1, 2, and 3, 4. We've got some of them showing up. But it's not going to work until we hit unbounded. Now it's going to spawn everything within side of the closed loop, which is why we wanted it closed. Now the next thing we're going to do specifically, we're not going to see much of a change right now, but interior sampling spacing. Let's see, right now we have 12,000 points, and if I change this to 200, we now have 3,217 points. Doesn't that look nice? A lot easier, a lot more manageable. We're definitely going to be cleaning this up a bit. Well, not cleaning it, adding some noise. That's what we're going to call it. So let's go ahead and get our next node, which is the attribute noise. Now, in this is what we need to make sure we understand. When we select attribute noise, there's an error here. Could not find the attribute of at last. So if we come over here to the right, last, it's the seed. And it doesn't know what to do with the seed. And that's not what we want. So we are going to actually change this to density. By changing it to density, we can actually change, as it states, the density. So if we hit this plus, we can come over here to density right here, and it does it for us. This $sign is important. If it's something that has an at or a $sign, you want to keep them. I don't fully know what the purpose. Oh, wait, here we go. The $sign to get a property, so that's good to know. It doesn't say what the at is. All right. The next thing we're going to do is keep it exactly as it is, and you'll see if we hit A and D. Look at that. It's going crazy. Let's go ahead and hit, no, right here. If we hold down the D button here on the spline sampler, I wanted to show you that way you understand that everything you debug will show at the same time. So you want to make sure you only have one node debugging at a time. So what this has done now, this noise, attribute noise, it has given them colors between 1 and 0. Black being 0, 1 being white. Now if I change this to 1, they're all white again. 0.5. So this allows us to have a great deal of control. But we're going to keep this for this instance at 0 and 1. Now we're going to drag out and get a, sorry, density filter. Now the density filter is quite nice. So let's go ahead and remove it from there. Look at that. We have fewer nodes. We only have the nodes that are between 0.5 and 1. Obviously, you can invert it so you can get all of them that are between 0 and 0.5. It really is up to you how it works. Then you can reduce this to get more of the dots back. And this is where we're going to have our very first interaction with the blueprint. So don't be like me. Make sure you have it open. So we are going to introduce something that came into being a couple of versions ago and was revolutionary then. And it's the node that is called get actor property. So this get actor property, as you can see, actor filter self. So it's going to use self, but you can also do it from things in the world and all that stuff. It's quite powerful. Right now it's saying none. Some parameters are missing, aborted, so it won't use this. Let's go back into our blueprint. And the first thing we are going to create is a variable called density. And we're going to want it to be of type float. Now that we have it, if we come in here in the property name, change it to density, we have an error. And that's because it's not visible. This needs to be exposed. So now that the eyeball is on, let's go ahead and attach it to the lower bound. Now, as you can see, it's still showing as error, and that's fine. If we come down here, back down here to the debug object, and we select the PCG thing, the error is now gone. Look at that. We have all our stuff back. Now, if we come here to density, interesting. Here we go. That's why. We have that selected. 0.5, because we're making changes. It's how it works. But now when we hit 0.5, look at that. Look at all those changes. Looks fantastic. So we have complete control now of the density of our noise, of everything that we have in here, based off of this node that we have right here, the get actor property. It's going to be a very commonly used one for any of the blueprints that you wind up making. All right, so the next thing we are going to do is get some stuff in here. And what I mean by stuff is we need to get a structure made and a data asset made so that we can get a data table placed in here, so that we are able to spawn things and set things up how we want, exactly how we want. So let's go ahead and jump into the structure folder. I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to type structure because I'm lazy, but you can find it in blueprints. And then PT for, PCG tutorial. And then I'm going to name this, actor. Yeah, we'll just name it actor info. There we go. _S. So let's go ahead and open up our new structure. Structures are a great way to house a whole bunch of data under one variable. So if this is something you've never done before, you're going to have a lot of fun, because this isn't just for PCG or for data tables or data assets or anything like that. You can put them in blueprints. So welcome to another crash course. The first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to hit the plus, the add variable here. Oh, there was already one here. And we're going to name this, well, this is going to be of type actor. You want it to be the class reference, not the object reference. Class reference. The reason for that is now we can select whatever object actor in the game, and we can set it up. So I'm going to name it actor. This next one we are going to name static mesh. The static meshes cannot be where actors are unless you make the static mesh an actor, which is what we'll do down the road. But sometimes you just want a static mesh. Now this one can be an object reference. We come over here, as you can see, look at that. We can now choose any static meshes we want. Next thing we're going to do is add another variable. We're going to name this one scale. This is going to be of type float. Now we're going to have two more. They're both floats. We're going to name it Z offset for the second one. And then weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, not W-A-I-T. Or priority, however you want to name it. This is what's going to determine how often something is populated within the graph. That way we don't have an even distribution of everything that we're making. So this is everything we need. Let's go to the default values real quick, and we're going to change the scale to 1 and the weight to 1. We'll leave everything else as is. We're going to hit save. Now we are going to go to our data assets folder. We're going to right click and go to blueprint class. Down here under all classes, we're going to type primary data asset. Select. And now we are, of course, always with its save. We are going to name this PT underscore O actor types underscore BP. We're going to open up this new primary data asset, and we are going to create a variable. We are going to name it list of actors. Next thing we are going to do is we're going to find our structure. So if you recall our structure right here, ours is PT actor info S. Then we are going to right click where this blue dash is to turn it into an array and open up the eyeball. Pile and save. All right. Now for the cool part. We are going to come back in here into data assets, right click on anywhere within the content browser and type data asset. It can be found in miscellaneous for those who want to do it that way. Now we're going to look for our new data table or new data asset. Actor types right there. Open it up, and I'm going to name it PT underscore example for me because it's what it is. DA. All right, let's open it up. Now let's go ahead and hit this plus sign. Now in our index, we can now set up whatever we want. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and for this one, I'm going to type in PCG to find the trees and whatnot. We keep it at 1 and 0 and 1 for now. Do it 2 more times. All right. There we go. 3 different trees. Hit save. Now that we have that taken care of, the next thing we're going to do is go back into our blueprint where we put our density. We're going to hit the plus icon again, and we are going to name this one actor data table. Come on in over here, and we want to get that data table blueprint that we made. So actor types or BP. Oh, when we hit compile, look at that. That goes in there. Want to make sure we have it exposed. Needs to be seen. Now let's go back into our graph here. Alrighty. Next thing we are going to want to do is get the actor property again. Get actor property. And keep it as self. And we need to get actor data table. Make sure that everything is named exactly and accurately. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues. Next thing we're going to want to get is a new node that came with 5.4. Get property from object path. All right. So from in here, we can keep that at last as it is. Now the property name isn't going to be what you think it is. It's the same name as right here that's in the data asset list of actors. So if we copy that, that way we don't have to worry about naming issues. Not bold. There we go. List of actors, actor data table. Should all be working. We'll find out in a minute. Let's, you know what, let's see what this says. Value number 0 for attribute property, none. Let's check real quick. So the next node we want is match and set attributes. We're going to drag that in here. All right, so there is an issue. 1 second while I find it. Never mind, I don't need to look for it. I know what the issue is. At least I'm assuming I know what the issue is. Let's come in here. I don't want to run into that every single time. Here in the blueprint for the data asset, place that in here. That should take care of the error. Yes, error is now gone. That was the problem. So for something like that, it needs to be filled in here. Well, you don't have to fill it in here. Once you fill it in right there, the error would resolve. But I'm just going to do that for my sanity. All right, so now here in the match and set attributes, there are a couple things we want to do. The first thing we want to do, actually there's really only one thing, is check mark this match weight attribute. So this is where we put weights. Now before I do that, if we hit A right here, you can see that weight is right here. If I hit A right here, because there's an error, it's not working. There we go. Weight is right here. Now if I check mark this and I name it weight, weight is now gone. It is now going to be used to determine how much of everything gets spawned. So the next thing we are going to do is spawn an actor so that we can actually see what's going on here. So let's go ahead and drag out spawn actor. And from in here in spawn actor, we are going to want to check mark spawn attribute, and we want to name it what we named this right here, actor. So back here, there it is. And we type actor. Save. Force generate. Let's see here. Nope. They have not decided to show up here. Let's find out why. Okay. Type actor is right there. There are no actors. 1 second while I find out why. I forgot. That's why. We're not starting with actors because I only have the character. So let's just disconnect that. Sorry about that. Static mesh spawner is what we need. It's been a long day. Next thing you're going to want to do is come down here to the mesh selector type. We're going to want to choose the by attribute one. And then we're going to want to get the one right here, static mesh. So there's no space there. Capitalize where you need to. There we go. Look at that. How quickly everything spawned. So now that we can see everything, I'm going to go ahead and remove the debug. So we don't have to worry about that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up this data table. We're going to mess with a couple of variables here. So scale's not going to do anything yet because we haven't made any decision for that. Same with Z offset. We have not hooked that up. But I wanted to end this episode showing you the power of this. So 0.5. And then I make this one a 0.5. And if I change this to 2, heck, let's go ahead and change this to 0.1. Look at that. Look how easy it is to change our forest. Just that easy. So this is where we are going to end this episode. Don't worry, there's another one right behind it. In the next one, we will expose several more parameters and variables to ensure that we can completely control this and set everything up exactly how we want. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.